You're listening to the A Bit From Within podcast with Felicia Marty. What would it be like if everywhere you looked in your house, it was filled with things that fill your spirit, that mean something to you, that improve your life, that make you either visually pleasing or it takes you back to a happy memory, or it just is so functional for you that it makes you feel more productive? Whatever those things are, what if your house is filled with spaces like that? Hello there, and thank you so much for joining me today for a new episode of the A Bit From Within podcast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Felicia. I am a Denver native, and I am a business owner. I run a wedding photography business as well as this business called A Bit From Within, where each week I come and do a podcast sharing a little bit of what's been going on in my life. And I try to weave in all kinds of mindfulness, encouragement, and self-care inspiration for each of us, because I know how badly so many of us need it right now. We are officially 1 week into this new year, 2022, and I feel like we're still kind of carrying so much of the baggage from the last 2 years. I don't know if you're feeling that, but I definitely am. And I wish I could say and report back that this week was a better week. But for me personally, I feel like I was very stuck this week. I feel like there was a couple of good days in there, but the last several have just been really hard. And some of that I think has been because of the kind of guilt I've been feeling over taking this week off. In fact, I was kind of reflecting that maybe 4 weeks was a little bit too much time. I feel like the weeks surrounding Christmas and New Year were just perfect. I was in a really sweet spot. The first week, it took me a while to get into it, but this last week, I feel like I've been having a lot of anxiety, and I think some of that is just due to kind of needing to get back into the swing of things for myself. I really do enjoy working. I enjoy doing. I've missed communicating with people like clients, my team, all of that. And so I woke up this morning and I went to a little coffee shop, and I just got myself organized and ready for this week, and it felt so good. And that's kind of when that light bulb clicked into my head. I'm like, I need that level of organization. Like, I need to have my hands on things. I need to make decisions. I need to be in go mode. Not all of the time. That's something I learned from this vacation, something that's important for me, but it is a piece of me that I don't want to ignore and I don't want to turn away from. It's always tricky. One thing that I've been thinking a lot about is the direction my business is going to be going. I have been in the wedding photography business. This will be my 10th year doing wedding photography. And what is it? I started taking pictures in 2007. So 15 years. Wow, that is crazy that I have that much under my belt. And as much as I love it, I do feel like there's part of me that's ready to slow down in that aspect. And it's really hard to say that out loud because I feel so much pressure from everybody who's counting on me to be there to take their pictures. And the truth is, like, I'm just going to have to face that and take it as it comes. I was actually thinking about this. This gave me a little bit of more permission to change my mind. That's something I've been struggling with. But Dave and I had been seeing this really awesome couples therapist, and I wanted to continue with him, and he took a job somewhere else doing a different kind of counseling. And I'm not sitting here beating him up, wishing that, forcing him. I mean, more than anything, I wish we could have kept up with him personally because he knew us and I trusted him and all of that. But it's not up to other people they don't owe us anything. And that's the same thing I'm trying to own for myself, is like, as much as I love the people that I've worked with and the work that I've done, it's not my responsibility to keep up with that for other people. Like, if I'm going to do it, I need to do it for myself. So that's something that I've been sitting with, and that's not an official an announcement of retirement from photography or anything like that. It's just me starting to own the fact that I might be heading in a different direction and starting to slow down in, and that's okay. Like, for so many of us, like, the past 2 years have completely changed the direction of our lives. Whether we have realized things that we didn't beforehand, or we've allowed ourselves to experience something new, or this whole experience has just changed us, and that is okay. I've been really, really trying to just sit with this feeling of, like, why am I here? Like, why did I come to Earth? Why do I want this? And I really do believe that we are meant to be happy and joyous and free. We are here to experience what it means to be a human. And so much of what I fall into so often is just this idea of, like, there's one right decision, and I have to do everything the right way, and I have to do the responsible thing all the time, and I have to make the wisest decision. And I think that operating that way has sometimes kept me from being my best self, from actually experiencing what I've wanted to experience. And I'm ready to let go of that a little bit more, and really just, I'm continuing to try to stop worrying about making the right decision and just make a decision that I can experience, that I get to live with, that I get to explore and be curious about. So that's kind of my introduction here today, and I'm hoping to kind of share a little bit about some of my takeaways from this time off, some of the things I've been doing that I think are hopefully going to help me in the areas of security and stability, and also just things that have been kind of fun. But before we do that, let's have our astro check-in. So right now, Sun is in Capricorn, and we are in the middle of the new moon phase of the lunar cycle. The new moon happened last week, and now we're kind of approaching that first quarter moon, and next week we'll have the full moon. And one of the ways that I like to look at this part of the phase is kind of like we're building. And we've kind of finished this first week where we're really sowing intentions. We're kind of working our hardest on what we're trying to move towards. And now we come to this place where we're really starting to look at it like, is this going the direction that we wanted? Sometimes it is during this first quarter moon that we really have to reevaluate our goals and our intentions and make sure that we are moving towards what feels in line with our energy, our goals, even just like what feels right. So for example, I sat down last week and kind of went through some of my intentions for this new moon cycle. And one of the things that I had wrote down is that I really want to make sure that during this lunar cycle that I have a good trip for my work trip. I was supposed to be traveling to Texas at the end of January for a wedding. And lo and behold, a couple days into the new year, that wedding gets postponed because of everything else going on, and that's totally fine. But then now that's one of my intentions that has to change because it's not something that's happening anymore in this lunar cycle. That's obviously a very concrete, like clear cut change of pace. But it happens with other things too. Like sometimes it'll be my intention to get myself more organized, to spend more time with myself every day, to have more space. And then all of a sudden, like, life gets really busy and my energy is pulled elsewhere. And I can be in a place where I'm either creating resistance, where I'm like, my needs aren't being met. I'm going to either have to throw my goals away, or I can say, how can I either change the intention here so that I can show up more fully? Do I need to take a couple beats before I go help other people? Or do I need to say no to these things that all of a sudden I'm committed to that actually are going against where I'm at, right? So sometimes we come to a place with our intentions where life is going to come at us, and it's not always coming at us in line with where we thought we were heading. And either we have to adjust ourselves and our priorities, or we have to adjust the path that we're on, right? And both are good decisions, are just different ways of looking at it, so that we're not trying to live in the tension between the two realities, the reality of what we want and the reality of what's in front of us. So that's one thing we kind of can start to think about this week as we move towards this culmination of this full moon. And the other thing that I think can come up as we move towards a full moon is just light bulb moments. Like maybe we're starting to take away like some revelations, or we're starting to see the progress, or we're starting to see the way forward. Sometimes that can happen very clearly in a way that makes us want to celebrate. Other times that can happen in a way that we are like, okay, that is the reality of the picture, and now it's time for us to move on or let go, or create, some distance between us and that project, so we can start over and find new stuff to work on. So that is something just to keep in mind. And I believe next week, let's look here. So the full moon actually happens next Monday. So this will be the podcast before the full moon. I'll talk more about it on next week's episode. It'll be kind of more information. But what I will say is that the full moon is going to be in Cancer. We're in Capricorn season right now, so the full moon will always be in whatever zodiac sign lies in opposition to where the sun is. And with Capricorn and Cancer, both of them are cardinal signs that are leaders, that are ambitious, that are very dedicated. Capricorn can be more dedicated to the work life, to the public life, to kind of that outer persona. And Cancer is more dedicated to the internal life, the home, to family, to roots, to the inner world. So something to explore during this full moon cycle, as we move towards these illumination moments and these light bulb moments, is where is our balance right now between work and home? Where is our balance between doing, like working, and feeling, and actually inhabiting in our inner world, and noticing what's going on for us and for the inner workings of our life, like our home. It can also be a little bit of a dichotomy between being very practical and then being more sensitive. And, that's something that I think will come to illumination as we move towards next week's full moon. Definitely something to consider as we move our way towards that. So I guess that will be it for today's Astro segment. I'll say it is not too late to hop on my website and download the moon tracker for 2022. It goes from January through December, and it will walk you through every single lunar cycle. There's space for you to kind of make your own notes, your priorities, write down your intentions, your revelations. But there's also a lot of information in there on ways you can use the lunar cycle for your own self-care and personal transformation. So if you want to get that, you can hop on my website and get that now. Okay, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and dive into things. Okay, so I'm taking a moment to reflect back on the last 4 weeks that I have had off and away from work. And I will say that there were very, very limited amounts of work that I did. We are still working on some weddings videos that we have had to do, so I've been working on those a little bit. I've had very minimal contact with my assistant, who has kind of been holding down the fort with the business. Just a couple of things that came up that were totally fine for me to deal with. But in mostly, like, I've had the last 4 weeks of just space. And I genuinely thought that at the beginning, like when in December, when I went into this break, that I would enter this kind of magical like winter snow globe where I would be able to watch movies and cook amazing food and have time to work out and do yoga, and like that everything was going to just be amazing and blissful and spacious, and that's not how it went. So the first week I spent a lot of time reorganizing and working on my house. That's just where I felt like I kind of had to go. Like I completely redid my office, got it super organized, went through a ton of papers, rearranged some books, redid my altar that is in my office, hung up some Christmas lights in the window, which I think I'm going to keep up in there somehow because it really does add this, like, they're just these like white twinkle lights that add so much kind of femininity and just beauty to the room. And then I also moved up a chair that was previously in our living room, put it up there, got kind of like actually, this is really funny. So I had been looking for one of those like ottomans that you could, kick your feet up on, or you could sit on it, like kind of like a poof type thing. And I saw one on Amazon, and I thought, okay, this will be great. Well, I didn't read the whole thing that it does not come stuffed in order to like save on shipping and stuff, which makes sense. But when I get it, it's just like the shell of this thing, and I'm like looking, I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, do I need to go to like a craft store? Like, what do I even get for this? I'm like, do I return it? Because this isn't going to work. Like, what do I do? So I decided to look on the reviews. That is one thing that I love about Amazon and other things too, is like, I love to read the reviews because sometimes you can find out great tips about something you've bought from reading the reviews. And so as I start reading through the reviews, all these people are like, yes, you have to stuff it yourself. And then people are like, this is so awesome because like I put all of my kids' winter stuff in this thing, or I put a bunch of bedspreads in it and that worked great. And I thought, well, I have some extra pillows and like a big comforter that I don't use. It's up in my linen closet. Like, I'll just try that. And sure enough, it worked great and it's been awesome. So I got that little thing. And then previously in our dining room, before we redid the wall, we put up this like board and batten wall last year. I had these like 8 frames that just had different pictures of me and Dave and our adventures and stuff. And so when we redid the board and batten wall, we ordered these canvases of our road trips that like went up and took the frames down. And I'd been really struggling with like a place to put them. So they'd just been sitting in a closet for the last, I don't even remember when we did that, maybe like 8 months or something. And so finally I took them back out and I hung them up like kind of near the chair in this, like, created this really cozy little corner. It's been perfect for reading and relaxing and actually like sitting down and just chilling. Like, this is like this cozy corner that is like so unexpected. It's amazing how hanging up some pictures and like really putting a little bit of effort into the space can really make you want to spend time there. So that has been one of the things that I did this break. And then the other thing I did is I decided that, well, after that, I had to tackle our master bathroom. And it seems like I run into the same like trouble spots over and over. Like, I swear every couple months I go through and I like pull everything out of our drawers in the master bathroom and try to reorganize things, make more room and do all this stuff. And one of those days, Dave and I were walking around Target, and there were these really cool like little shelves, like just, I don't know, like 6 inches wide, not very like long, like maybe like 18, 20 inches, something like that. And they had like these metal things that they sat on, and I thought, oh, should I buy these? And I'm pretty like frugal in some ways. And so I was like, oh, no, like, do we really need it? And then eventually, like, I was just like, you know what? I can always return these. sometimes I forget that. I always feel like I have to make a decision I'm going to commit to no matter what. And then I was like, no, I could return these if I really like second guess it, like just get them. And so that night I hung them up in the bathroom. I put one over on Dave's side. Well, I thought I was going to be able to like stack them on top of each other, and then it just didn't work out with how the bathroom works. So I put one over on Dave's side and then one over on my side. And oh my gosh, it's been so awesome. Like now our counter of our vanity is like always cleared off. And if stuff does get piled up on it, it has a home on these shelves, and they're beautiful, and I was able to kind of arrange them beautifully, and it saved up so much space in our drawers. And I immediately thought, like, I wish I would have done this sooner, to have this solution where, like, I feel good walking into this space, that it's not only functional, but it's beautiful too. Sometimes I lose that vision where I get kind of stuck in like only wanting things to be so practical that I don't always put as much investment into things being beautiful, and how much it changes how you feel in a space, right? It's kind of like if you've ever played the game The Sims. Like you build these little houses for these, Sim people to live in, and when they're in a space that is not well decorated, their moods go down. But then if they're in a space that's really beautiful, their moods go up. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately, about how maybe like we really are in some sort of simulation, because that's kind of what it feels like sometimes. It's like you forget how nice it can feel to be in a space that you love. Anyway, that is to say that was my second project. And then, of course, started working on my closet and working on our bedroom. Actually, for Christmas, Dave got us this really nice bedspread from what I call like the expensive aisle at Target. And I know that, everybody has different ranges of what they're willing to spend on like a comforter or pillows or whatever like that. So I'm sure some of you listening to this would spend a lot more than I did. And then some of you would spend way less than that. And that is just okay. But I will say that ever since he got us this bedding that I would never have bought for us, it has felt like literally like being in a luxurious hotel every single night. It is the perfect texture. It is beautiful. Every time I walked into the bedroom, it makes me smile. Like, it is wonderful. We also got these bigger pillows, which are so comfortable. It's been a game changer. And it ties in so much better. I have like this accent wall. It's like this dark green. And my last like quilt was like this tan color that I didn't love, and I've been like really struggling with that. And this is just white, which I've wanted white for a long time. Poor Brad, my dog, we had to have a long talking about his fur on because he's a Labradoodle, but so he's not supposed to shed, but he's definitely the part of the lab that sheds. And it's not a lot, but it definitely shows up on blankets and things like that. So I've been kind of a crazy person about making sure the blanket is on the bed so that his fur doesn't get all over the white bedspread. But anyway, so we did that, and then I don't know. Oh, the living room. That's the last one. Dave and I had gone round and round about this rug that was in our living room. For those of you who practice yoga with me, it's the kind of like blue gray rug that had been in a lot of the yoga videos. This rug was from Ruggable. I loved that you can wash a Ruggable rug. It was a perfect size for the space, and I could practice yoga on it without having to move it every time, because it's awesome, and I really valued that. But to be honest, like, it's not the perfect color scheme for the space. And especially as we were moving into Christmas, like, Dave wanted something different, and I kind of wanted something different too, because it definitely wasn't going to go with any of the Christmas stuff. And so we went on a little IKEA trip I'm making it sound like all we do is go shopping, but I swear all of this was spread out over the course of a month. So we did go on a little IKEA trip and we found a new rug, and it has worked out so much better. I got a little plant stand, like a snake plant for down there, and took down we had like a big picture of this elk, took that down and framed these other photos of this kind of like tree line that are really beautiful. And it has just totally tied our entire space together in a different way. And I guess that the reason I'm explaining all of this is because it felt really good over the time off to work on the home that we live in. And maybe part of that is going back to astrology. Like, I am a Cancer. It's my sun sign. I have got quite a few planets in Cancer. My Mercury and my Mars are also in Cancer. So there's a lot of that kind of homey energy. And then Dave, he is a Cancer rising. So as much as that might surprise people, he's got a little bit of that sensitive, homey person too. And so working on our space has been something that has meant a lot to us. And there's a lot of signs in the zodiac where being in a space that is comfortable is really, really important to them. Like Libra, that's a big thing for Libra. Even Taurus, although Taurus, I think it's a mixture of things being both comfortable but also more like stable. But there's stability that can come from even your space being more functional, more practical, right? There's probably other signs too. I'm just kind of going off the cuff here. But I really feel like this is something I've taken away from the past couple weeks is just, sometimes there's a need to push stuff away. To be like, no, I'm working on my finances right now, so I can't order this and I can't have that and we can't do this and we can't do that. I feel like especially my relationship with Dave, like I am the voice of like, we can't do that. I call it the voice of reason a lot of the time, but there have been moments when we have invested into different things for our home that have made a huge difference. And I'm really starting to feel that now, just that I want to continue to spend more time looking and living for things that are enjoyable and comfortable, right? Like, we're not meant to suffer. And that's something that I think I got, kind of picked up somewhere along the way, is this mentality around like, if it's enough, then just deal with it. And that's not always a good mentality, right? Like, we are allowed to change our style. We are allowed to change our decor. We are allowed to get rid of things that maybe somebody bought us that, that we don't want anymore. We're also allowed to get rid of the things that we bought at one time that were maybe expensive, or we thought they were going to play one role in our lives, and then they didn't. Like, how many of us have stuff in our closets or in our homes that we're just holding on to because of those reasons? I had that. Like, just today, I had this gift that I was given like years ago that I hadn't used because it was a food item that was made with a lot of high fructose corn syrup. But they were so cute that they were like these little honey sticks, like that you could put into your honey. And they looked like little honeycombs. And so like, they were really cute. They were in my tea drawer. And I thought I loved the gift so much. It meant so much to me that I've been holding on to these, even though I'm not using them, even though I use like real honey. And I just finally was like, oh, you know what? I can be grateful for this and part ways with it, right? It doesn't take away from me being grateful for the gift. And so, it's like, for all of us, it's, it's not really time for spring cleaning, but I do think that for so many of us, especially during this time of year where it's so cold and we're really starting to be in the thick of winter, and there's not a lot of like celebrations and stuff happening right now, and can kind of get, this is a time of year where I've really noticed kind of like that seasonal depression start to kick in, and just like the post holiday different kind of, there was the blues of the holidays, but now there's like the post holiday blues. It's okay to spend some time like looking at the things in your life that you want to create more space in, and that you want to feel better, and to even start to create a plan to how you're going to do that, how you're going to make it better. Whether that's like changing the artwork in your house, or finding more storage, or saying goodbye to things that you don't even really miss, right? Like, how many of us have like closets filled with stuff that we've kept for X reason, that we don't even, like, if somebody took it away from us, we probably would not even know, right? That's like one thing, my mom and I were just talking about this, like, if you don't miss it, like, you don't miss it. If you don't miss it right now, like, if you don't think about it, you don't use it, like, you won't miss it when it's gone. And there's something to that. Like, there really is something to having stuff in your life that you really love. It's kind of like friendships. You can have a ton of friends, but if they're not the people who really mean something to you, who you vibe with, who contribute to your life, that every time you see them, it raises your vibration, and it makes you feel better, and it brings a smile to your face, and they're there for you. You can have, 20 friends that don't know you at all or aren't there for you, or you can have one friend who is that, and it makes all of the difference in the world, right? It's like, let's have, what would it be like if everywhere you looked in your house, it was filled with things that fill your spirit, that mean something to you, that improve your life, that make you either like visually pleasing, or it takes you back to a happy memory, or it just is so functional for you that it makes you feel more productive. Whatever those things are, what if your house is filled with spaces like that? And maybe your house is, I would love to hear all of the different like little hacks and things that people have that just mean a lot to them. For me, I like having a lot of stuff on my walls. I like having a lot of plants in my house. I like that, when you first walk into our house, we have these little like easel shelves, and we decided to put our like illustrated Harry Potters on that. And that's not something I would normally do. And I've had so many people come in and be like, why do you have Harry Potter books there? And I'm like, because we really like Harry Potter. Like, we're not crazy. Like, we're not, and not that it would be bad if we were, but we're not crazy, but we love Harry Potter. It's something that we share together, and these illustrated books are so cool. And it's a fun way to display them instead of just having them, pushed into a shelf. And if we want to change our minds, we can do that too, right? I also have like little succulents and stuff up there, and it made such a big difference when we did that project. Like, when you walk into our house, it feels inviting, it feels comfortable, it feels natural, and those little things can make a big difference. Now, I will say that we have lived in our house for over 2 years now, and it took a long time to figure out this stuff. I have some friends who've just recently moved into their house, and I always tell people who have recently moved, like, give yourself time to figure those things out, because you kind of have to get acquainted with how the space works and how you work with a space before you can make a lot of design decisions. In fact, some of the stuff that like we did right away, like, we didn't end up keeping because of that. Even now, like, before we moved into our house, I had dreamed of like a really big farmhouse table for our dining room. And I found one like it was like a crazy thing. It was at a Pier 1. And when I walked in, like, they were having this huge like clearance off of clearance sale. And like I sat there and I noticed that this table had a tag on it that made it like on an extra clearance. It was like originally a like $680 table that I ended up getting for like $320, like crazy clearance. And I found out when I went to like pay for it, they were like, this was marked incorrectly. Like, we're gonna obviously honor it for you, but that's not how it was supposed to be. Which, it worked out well. But I will say that it is a little bit too big for our space. And we make it work, and it works pretty good. But there's been so many times that Dave and I are like, oh, this space would probably work better with something a little bit smaller. Or we could do more with that dining room area. It's a little bit of a question mark in our minds. But every time I talk about, getting rid of it or, changing it, Dave's like, but we love this table. Like, this is, our table. Like, if we move into a bigger house, like, we're going to want this table. And so we haven't gone anywhere with that one. But it takes time, right? Like, you can't change every room in your house overnight. And if you did, you'd probably miss out on things that you, really care about and really want to think about, because you're having to make so many decisions at once. Like, we all get decision fatigued, and it's something that we have to think about, is like how we're feeling inspired, how we're able to move through things, and moving with intention around making those decisions. What do we really want? What inspires us? What makes us happy, right? Those all go with it. So I guess that's the end of today's topic. Moral of the story, just pulling a bow on it all, is like, let's care about the spaces we live in, because we're worth it. Because we deserve to be in functional, beautiful spaces that reflect who we are as people. And you know what? That style's not going to be like anybody else, right? Like, it's not about just keeping up with design trends. Although if that's something that brings you joy, then by all means do it. But if you like what you like, awesome. Styles are going to change all the time. It's important for us to reflect our values in all that we do. So, all right, let's do a card drawing. See what the universe has to say to us about all of this. I'm going to use the Super Attractor deck today by Gabriella Bernstein. Okay, just give these cards a little shuffle here. Okay. This says, feeling good will bring me far more than whatever I thought I needed. I love that. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You guys, how does this happen? Like, it literally is always the card that we need. But that really sums it up, is like, we can think we need all of these things, right? We can go to a store and be like, I need this, or I need that, or go to somebody else's house and be like, oh, I should be doing that. I should be doing that. But it's really about us feeling good and choosing things. It's kind of like that whole Marie Kondo thing, like what sparks joy. It's like, it's really about feeling good in your environment, feeling good when you're getting ready in the morning, feeling good when you walk in after a long day of work, feeling good when you get in your car, feeling good in your work environment. Like, these are important things, and feeling good will bring you far more than whatever you thought, you needed. It's perfect. All right, everyone, we will leave all that there. Thank you so much for joining me today for a new episode. If you love this, please share the word, spread the news of your favorite podcast. And if you are not a member of our Patreon, you can listen to ad-free episodes at our Patreon page. So it's really easy to get started. It's $6 a month. And you also get access to I think there are over 50 guided meditations, and there's 2 new ones that come out each month. And of course, you are helping to support me being able to do the work that I love, and hopefully that I'm going to be able to do a lot more of this year. Yeah, that's all. So I guess I will be sending so much love your way, and until next time.